I love how Milena starts with, "You're going to hear the lady." And I'm like, still freeze and I'm not sure what to say. So, yes, if you're listening, you are hearing my voice. This is Delancey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever, what time you are. We're just thankful you're here with us. So,
Yes.
tonight, or today, or this afternoon, or whatever, you are going to meet two wonderful individuals that I have had the pleasure of knowing since college. We're not going there about when, we're not going to go there about ages, anything like that, but just know we've known each other for a minute. Take that as you will. But I would love to introduce Mary, Frances, and Shaun, who are taking time out of their day and their schedule to discuss a recent adoption story that they've gone through. So, yeah,
Yay.
I'll just turn it over to y'all. Go right ahead.
Okay. Hi,
Hi.
we're Mary, Frances, and Shaun. We recently adopted our son, Liam. Um, he was born in June, and everything was finalized in December of last year. Shaun's gonna go take care of him. So I don't know what else. No, we're in Oklahoma. We both have lived here since 2013. Shaun is a professor at a local university, and then I work at the public library part time.
Cool.
And yeah, we're just trying to figure out parenthood. That's kind of, I mean, we can get more into, like, I don't know what else you need to know. I'm originally from Mississippi. Shaun's from Alabama. Um, we met at Southern Miss, and then we got married in 2010, and then yeah, I moved out here in 2013. So that's where we are.
I'm just impressed that they've stayed strong through the test of time, through like college and on.
Yeah, we met, well, I won't say how long ago. We met a very long time ago. So,
Oh.
yeah.
No, it's good. You can say the
Yeah.
time. That's
It's
even
not,
better
okay,
because
we met in 2004. Yeah, 2004. We didn't actually start dating till well after we met. There was somebody else in my life at that point. And then Shaun and I started dating, and that's it. So
no, I love it. I think it's good to say the timeline because I feel like it's rare having people with like
Oh.
big long
Mhm.
togetherness. So I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and we've been married since 2010. So yeah,
Awesome.
long time.
So, since you've been married with 2010 and adopting Liam happened in June, walk us, like, if you don't mind, walk us through that, I guess, how y'all got led to adoption, the process, because Melina and I always talk about how like she's international, I'm domestic, and even now versus when we were adopted, it's
Yeah.
very different and it's different state to
Yes.
state. So
Right. So we were married in 2010 and waited 12 years to adopt. Really 11. We started the process in 2021. But yeah, I think a big part of it was just early on in our marriage, we were focused on anything but having children. I was still in school and we were just getting our life started, and then we waited and waited and then just basically never had kids. And I don't think we were really feeling emptiness or anything like that. We were just kind of going through life as a couple, and we were happy still. And but we were starting to wonder, I guess, if we were ever going to have kids. I think is a big part of it. So we started looking into it. We started looking into fertility and things like that. And as we were talking, we looking at how fertility testing and treatments and all of that work, IVF and things like that. We looked at that as an option, and then we looked at adoption as an option, and then just kind of from my perspective, it was kind of utilitarian. I was saying, all right, which is going to cost more, which is going to take the longest, which has the most certainty behind it, and those kinds of things. But yeah, as we were talking about it, we talked about it in those terms, and there were also emotional terms to it. we decided that adoption was what we wanted to do, and I think part of that was, at least for me, was when I was a child, I was adopted by my stepfather. My birth father died when I was 8 years old in a car accident, and the year after that, my stepfather adopted me.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it was something that, yeah, I had thought of even long before Mary Frances and I got together, that I might want to do one day. So I think I was motivated to do it from that angle. Mary Frances, would you like to add anything to that?
I mean,
Can I
Yeah.
ask you a quick?
Yeah,
Sorry.
you have a question, go ahead.
So like obviously you were introduced to that. How did that make you feel, like having your stepdad? I mean, obviously your father passed away, but how did
Yeah.
that, like, how did you feel all about? Can I ask that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was I think when I was young, I was, like I said, 8, 9 years old, when all of it was happening. I um I liked my stepdad's side of the family a lot, and they always helped me feel like I belonged, I guess. Even though as a child I wasn't thinking in those terms, I think I
Right.
always felt like I belonged with them. And so when the adoption came up, I was sort of excited to be a calyx. I think
Yeah.
was part of it, just because I felt like I belonged. And so yeah, it felt pretty good at the time. And there are ins and outs in every relationship. I don't want to get too much into that.
We get
Yeah,
that.
sometimes my relationship with my stepdad, then adoptive father, was great, and sometimes it wasn't. But just
Yeah,
having
get
been
that.
adopted, I think, was a good experience for me.
Awesome. Awesome.
So yeah.
I like that. I can't believe
Delancey,
I
I
didn't know
don't think
that.
I was gonna say
I,
from your
you
reaction.
could you tell by my face that I didn't know that, and if I did, I completely blocked that out and forgot.
probably didn't share all that much information considering how secrets get spread through sorority really quickly. So
Oh yeah. Valid.
Yes,
Valid.
yes.
we
Well
liked
aware.
drama. We really liked our drama. No, I just
Yes.
no, it's not something that really. It's not like I didn't mean to share it. It's just something that I didn't really share all that much with
Right.
friends, and everything. It's but yeah, just I think he, his background really. Plus, he, as like Delaney, I don't know if you remember this, he was studying marriage and family therapy at the time we met. So that I think that kind of, I mean, I knew he would know, things about relationships and things that's kind of helped our relationship too. I think to be stronger a little bit. But yeah, I can't remember where I left off. Sorry. So
No, I
Talking
cut you
about
off.
the
That's my
decision to
bad.
adopt.
yeah. So just I started searching for um adoption agencies in Oklahoma, and there was like we have of course DHS, where you can do foster care as well as foster to adopt. I looked there, and then I came across Deaconess Pregnancy and Adoption Services, and right away I could, not just their homepage, but like I was looking, what I looked at was the other couples that were in the process of adoption, and I saw a lot of similarities between them and us, ages, interests. It is a Christian-based, faith-based adoption agency. I believe they had their start as a mother and baby home in early 1900s, so over 100 years,
Wow.
120 years.
Wow.
Operating not under the name they are now, but like just in general.
Right.
And I think it's the Free Methodists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just, not even knowing that, but just like looking at these couples and like seeing just how much we had in common with them, was like, this looks like a great, agency. It just, and I mean, I looked at other things on their site too, but I think that really was what drew me to them, was just seeing all these other couples that were basically kind of just in the same boat we were, it seemed like. And yeah, I sent it to Shaun, and even after some much consideration, much prayer, just trying to, figure it out, we decided to reach out to them and apply. And then that's kind of when things really took off, I guess.
Can I ask a question about the
yeah.
application?
Yes.
Did you, and I'm not going to ask about specific questions, but at any point with it, where did you feel any of the questions were a little invasive, or were they just normal questions to y'all?
With them being a faith-based agency, they ask a lot of faith questions that were, I didn't see them as invasive, but they were just difficult to answer because one, they're very open-ended, and I think anybody who's applying for something where you have to be approved for it, like an adoption agency, you're wondering, oh, am I answering in a way that's going to make them want us to adopt, or is going to make them want to turn us down, and all that sort of thing. But I never saw it as really invasive. It was just sometimes difficult to answer, and plus difficult to answer because it made us think about things that we hadn't really thought of from certain angles, and so it took a while. In fact, the adoption agency's application, I think we took about 4, 5, maybe 6 months to complete.
Wow.
Because not because it was so long, but because it just took us a while to kind of wrap our heads around some of the things that they were asking. So yeah, we decided in, I think it was November 2020, that that's what we were going to do. We told Mary Frances's family, we told my family that we were going to pursue adoption. And then we started applying in probably early 2021. And then we took maybe about 6 months to complete the application. Or no, it wasn't 6 months because we did a seminar with them in June and we had to be approved before then. So about 4 or 5 months. And then had our seminar in June. And then, so the adoption seminar was, they brought in, I think it was 4 couples, including us, that had recently been approved for adoption, which means it wasn't that our home study had been approved and we had been fully approved by the agency. It was just, okay, we're going to work with you. And so then they brought us all in for the seminar, 4 couples. And that was really cool. We got to meet some nice folks. We've gotten to be friends of sorts with a couple of the couples, and gotten some support that way. But yeah, we had our seminar. It was like a day and a half seminar, maybe 2 days, something like that.
And that was, they call it navigating the journey. So that was really, besides the application, I feel like that was like one of the first steps we had to complete. Then you had the home study after that. And then once all that was done, then you were fully approved and on the waiting list. And they told us, from the get-go, it could take upwards of like 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
I mean, there are couples on, I still look to see, like who's still on the waiting families, and there's still couples on there that have been on there for more than 2 years, and it's just hard. And I think part of it, I know that they were, up until the point that we started our process, COVID really what's the word I'm looking for, kind of
harder. At least in theory, COVID sort of reduced, well, it probably contributed to a reduction in the number of birth moms that were out there. Well, because people are going out less, they're getting together, getting busy less, and so yeah, there are fewer babies being.
The second he started that with, I think COVID did contribute to less birth mothers. I was like, I know exactly where he's going with this.
I love it. That's hilarious.
And I think one of the first seminars they had actually done in person within the last year. Like at that point, like COVID, they had stopped doing that in person. And so it kind of kept them from kind of doing a lot of the things that they normally would have done. And this, I think, it contributed to less, having less birth mothers, needing to place their children for adoption. And that's something that they also really stress, is the terminology used is that you're not giving your child up for adoption, you're placing them for adoption. And that, it really makes you stop and think, because I sometimes have to stop myself and say, he was placed for adoption. And they talk a lot about how they do a lot for the birth moms, which it's like at this point, we had gone through the seminar and like just hearing about everything that they did. And since then, they really support their birth moms. They do a lot. They do a birth mother retreat, I think once a year. They offer, financial help and just help in general to their birth moms, especially. So they're based in Oklahoma City. I believe they have an office in Tulsa as well. But like all over the state, like anywhere in Oklahoma, they're going to, do what they can to help their birth moms, make it to doctor's appointments, connect with their not birth families, sorry, adoptive families. They really, really, and oh gosh, I just, it just there was so much, and there's they had us consider so many things too. One of the things that kind of made me stop and think, and I guess Shaun, I don't know, Shaun, how Shaun felt about this, was that the circumstances, say the birth mother had consumed alcohol when she was pregnant, or had taken drugs. And so they really made you you go through this list is like, what are you okay with? What prenatal exposures are you okay with? And so going down that list, just like you really it makes you stop and think. It's not just some random person, that's placing their child for adoption. It's like, okay, well, has she done anything? How old is she? Because they talk about a lot of like, what are the circumstances surrounding this child being placed for adoption? And it's just it really makes you stop and think. And I love, like I said, that they have been very supportive, not just of birth moms, but also of the families. They offer therapy to, I guess, I don't know if it's to adoptive families or birth families.
Yeah, it's whenever you're needing some help.
And they can
anywhere in the adoption triad, you've got adoptive families, adoptive children, birth parents, whoever is needing help within that triad, they provide counseling as part of their program.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, just lost my train of thought. I can't remember what I was going to say. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's what I was about to say. That's all right. We forget all stuff all the time.
Yes, mom brain for sure. Do you guys? Can I ask? Do you guys have like an open adoption, or what's the contact with your bio?
Yeah, it's an open adoption, and we knew that going in, and that's really what we wanted.
And they mostly do that anyway. I think.
Yeah.
It did. So, like I said, going back to like how supportive they are of birth moms, they also, it's not mostly, but they really try to honor birth moms' wishes. No, so if birth mom is wanting a close adoption, they try to work that. They can mediate if need be, if like you're just having issues with your birth mom. They can mediate meetings and such, but like they most of their adoptions, I believe, are open adoptions, and most of them are infant adoptions. I don't know how many of them are actually older than that.
Most of them are infant adoptions. They periodically will help with adoptions of older children, but usually what it is when that's happening is a birth mother who's giving birth but is also needing to place their older children with a family, and so they may be placing siblings in the same house, kind of thing.
They try to really work with birth mom and adoptive parents too. But we, from the get-go, we wanted an open adoption.
Cool.
And so far, working with our birth mom, we have not felt like she's been difficult or had any issues. Just no red flags. Like, she's just been wonderful this whole time. They do have us, they keep us kind of they try to keep as little as personal information as, like, they'll have birth moms fill out paperwork that we will get, just kind of like her family history. But like as for like email addresses, phone numbers, addresses, like they kind of keep that information secure. I think as long as we feel okay with it and she's okay with it, we can share that information. For example, I sent our bio mom a Christmas card, this past Christmas, so I was like, are you okay with me sending you something in the mail that says, has your name and your address on it. Like, is this okay? And we do communicate regularly with her through GroupMe. So we can send pictures, and she'll constantly message us and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Especially at the beginning. Like after he was born and we brought him home, she's like, "Are you guys doing okay? Are you getting much time to sleep?"
And it wasn't intrusive in any kind of way. We don't want to give that impression.
No.
But it's been
it's
consistent
sweet.
contact with her.
Yeah,
That's
she's
awesome.
Yeah,
her
I
through
think
this whole.
that's sweet. That is so like checking. It's kind of like from the impression I'm getting, it's like she's really checking on y'all and making sure y'all are good. And
Yeah.
that's just, to me, that's just so kind and so nice. Cause like
Yeah, she's been
it could
very
be, yeah.
she's been
No. Yeah.
very respectful of our boundaries, and we haven't really been setting rigid boundaries. Mary Frances and I have both been just very open with her just naturally. It hasn't been
awesome.
really anything we've had to manufacture or anything like that. It's been just very open communication. But what she's been, I would say she's been careful to respect any boundaries that we have set or that she may even be perceiving that we are setting.
Right.
Hasn't crossed any
Right.
boundaries. You know, we get questions sometimes. Like recently I was asked by somebody who's actually considering adoption too. She's like, "Well, does bio mom know that you're mom?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's never crossed the line in any way." Like, and like this is just, we've just really, you know, up until, so it was last month we actually saw her for the first time since, okay, I gotta back up here. So we met her in April of last year, or 2022.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Should I go into the backstory, or do you want to tell it?
No, I'm just we can do that. It's like, so
It's fun. It's fun. It's a fun story.
we met her, you know, prior to Liam being placed for adoption. She chose us and she wanted to meet with us. So we met her, and yeah, it's like, to make a long story short, you know, she went after giving birth, you know, very early, earlier than expected to be. We didn't see her. She was at the hospital for just a few days herself, you know, while he was in the NICU. So until last month, we did not see her. So we've had regular contact with her, but like that was our very first post placement visit with her.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It went great. I was very stressed leading up to that. Just because, you know, it's like the first time we've seen her and the first time she's seen him, as far as we know. And that's not something, you know, we ever really want to press her on. It's like, well, did you go see him in the NICU? You know, we're not going to ask her that. We will let her be with any questions. And so anyway, just navigating that is going to be interesting because we've only just done the one visit right now. So we haven't really had a chance to encounter any issues. I guess we could have at any point in the last year, but you know, it's just, you know, so we get questions like that. Well, does she know that you're your mom? Like, yeah, she knows I'm mom, but she hasn't done anything to indicate that she thinks that she's in charge.
And that's a pretty common thing for that people worry about with adoption is that boundary crossing and the jealousy that might happen, especially, you know, the concern is usually between adoptive moms and birth moms and things like that. Adoptive moms worrying that their child's going to attach to the birth mom and want to live with them and reject them, and then birth moms wondering if their child knows who they are and things like that. And that can present a lot of interesting dynamics and interactions, but really, I think Mary Frances and she have had a great relationship. It's almost been like almost being friends.
Yeah, it's kind of just, you know, it's kind of weird to say that, but yeah, like she's just a friend who, you know, has placed her child for adoption with us. And I was kind of worried about his attachment and my attachment, you know, like his attachment to me and my attachment to him. Like after he was born, it's like, well, I didn't give birth to him. It's like, is this going to, you know, how is this going to work? You know, is he going to, you know, be okay? And it's just, I'm, you know, and I do kind of worry like down the road, like, you know, future times, like how attached is he going to get to her? And, you know, we do talk about her. We try to talk to her about her, you know, to him. And we have pictures of her, She does have two other children, two other boys from previous relationships. So we talk about his brothers. We try to just, talk about them a lot and just, get so he knows and show them pictures and everything.
Yeah, their visit, we got a great picture of his birth mom holding him. Just a very, very happy picture that we're gonna
It was a good
keep
picture.
around.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I
put it in
totally
the room and all of that.
I totally get your fear, but I want you to know,
Mhm.
like being an adoptee, and I guarantee you Delancey can agree
Mhm.
with this. You guys are
Yep.
doing
I know
so
where you're
much
going.
good to instill
Mhm.
in him that you are his
Mhm.
mother. And
Yeah.
that you
Mhm.
like, I promise you, because the
You're
more
his
open you're
parents.
about it, the more
Mhm.
honest you are about it, he's
Mhm.
not gonna be like, ugh. Like when you're open and honest and you're sitting there saying all these things,
Mhm.
he's gonna be like, look how much mom and dad loved me to include
Mhm.
all of this in my life. Like
Mhm.
really. So you're doing awesome. You're doing awesome.
You're
Thank you
doing
so much.
you're
That's good to
We
hear.
hear
you're
that.
hitting it out of the park.
Are you
Like
sure?
really.
And that's
Like
I mean
I
like and Melena's right. She's I'm sorry to just cut you off on that. Like
No, you're
Melena's
good.
right though. Like I completely agree with her. With mine I mean that's why I'm so secure with my parents. I've always been so secure with my parents. They've been always been open and honest with me about everything that they knew.
Mhm.
Of course mine was closed. This is open. So this is a different dynamic, but I feel like the more you can share with your child, the more honest you can be with them, the more
Right.
that bonds you together as
Right.
parent and child, because that will like
It doesn't take
you're his parents.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't change it.
There's no
It
trust
doesn't change that.
issues. And my parents were the same way as her parents. They were open about everything. And any
Mhm.
question I had
Mhm.
about I'm like Delancey, it was closed. So my parents only knew as much as they knew, but anything that they did know, they shared.
Mhm.
They knew. They
Yep.
were like, yeah, this is what we know, And so you guys are awesome. Like
Y'all are
seriously.
doing
Yeah.
like I'm kind of it's almost like it's so just hearing y'all talk about and seeing your body language and your facial expressions and everything, you're just so comfortable that it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't see anything but positivity coming from this,
Exactly.
like nothing but.
Right.
The agency
Right.
is also, they give us resources, plenty of resources on how to, tell him, about, how he was placed for adoption, like and just
That's awesome.
everything surrounding that. So, once he does have questions, how to talk to him about those things. And, I know because he's going to have questions. We know he's going to have questions, and other
Yeah.
people are going to have questions
Mhm.
just about him. So, um, little bit of honesty here, I guess. So, what we know of birth father, he is African American, or not African, like dark, like and
From Africa.
from Africa, like
Okay, I was like, I don't get it
way
at
up,
first.
and
I don't get it.
birth mom is white, she's Caucasian,
Mhm.
and so from what she told us, we were expecting a child who had, they say multiracial.
Yeah.
Again, they stress the correct terminology. So walking into that NICU going, okay, well, he's not what we thought he was going to look like.
Yeah. It was so, can I tell
Yeah,
from my
just
perspective?
I'm like,
So yeah, we were expecting a child who looked multiracial, and we were preparing ourselves for that.
Yeah.
That like let's say we went to San Antonio for her cousin's wedding in May before he was born in June, and went to what's that area called, the Pearl District, Pearl District in San Antonio. And I go into a bookstore and I'm just buying every book I can on raising a multiracial child and children's books that represent Black children in them
So cute.
and multiracial families and things like that. And we happened to find a bookstore that had all of that, so that was but then so we were expecting a child that was multiracial looking, and then walked into the NICU, and we knew what room he was supposed to be in, so we just made a beeline for his NICU room. And I walked in, and I looked in the incubator and said, "Is this our kid?" I had to check my ID badge against his room number and because we just weren't really sure.
I can just picture Shaun being like, Hold on. Are
And
we
then
sure?
like,
Yeah.
but since then we've gotten comments like, that he looks like us, and it just kind of warms my heart to hear that, even though I'm like, well,
Mhm.
I mean, he, he's not going to look like us, maybe.
And so, one thing that I wonder about in raising him with that is that, we know his father was black. He does not look black.
Yeah.
And so how do we confidently
Yeah.
raise him within a multiracial identity when he does not look multiracial?
Yeah.
So Delancey, it looks like you have some feedback for
I,
us on that. So let's,
that's a big question.
Delancey.
Okay, so the father is, you said African, like from Africa.
Yes.
yeah,
Is
he was
there
the only thing we
any
know about him is he's from Africa. We
don't
know
really
very
anything
little
else.
about him.
That's all we know.
is there any chance that he could be South African?
Don't know.
She has not disclosed anything other than that. We are also
Other than he
thinking
was from
that she could
Africa?
have had, that she could have also had another partner that was not. So
Hmm.
I do have
I'm
a
just
friend who she's super, super, super white, and he is like chocolate of the night, and their babies come out so fair. Like when she's birthed them, I'm like,
Yeah.
are you
I mean,
sure
how?
he's
I
the
mean,
dad?
like respectfully, how?
I don't know. But then the girls have grown up, they're like all young adults
Mhm.
now. Super,
Yeah.
super dark.
Right.
And you can tell like their dad is their dad now, but it's crazy
Mm,
how fair they came out. So, but
that's just interesting to
I
me
know.
that it's like, I don't know. I'm just curious because like I'm just very like I'm very intrigued by that. And of course, like you don't want to like push her too far or anything or any,
No,
when
no.
she's ready, she'll say something
So
if she is ever there. Yeah, but
yeah,
I'm so curious.
yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
country in
But yeah,
Africa?
Yeah. We
Africa.
don't know, and like I said, the only thing that I'm really concerned with that is just
Hmm.
as he is asking questions and wondering about his background and things like that.
Hmm.
We're of course going to be truthful with him. It's just I wonder about racial identity
That part, right?
and how he is going to develop with that. So that's going to be an adventure potentially. We don't know. We have no idea.
Right.
But
It'll be fun. It'll be fun for y'all. It'll be
yeah,
interesting because I know like Melena and I were both raised by white parents.
Mhm.
So it's, Mexican, she's Colombian, and it's not necessarily the same, but like different is different at the end of the day. And it's kind of like, I know for me, I can't speak for Melanie on this. Like for me, I went through a phase of like, I am a straight Latina, I am Mexican, that is it. That's where like some of the
Mhm.
nicknames came from in college. Like that is just it. And it's just kind of like but I was trying to like
Yeah.
I was trying to force an identity that I was born with instead of accepting what I was growing and developing into, if that makes sense.
Right.
So like my parents kind of like had an
Mhm.
interesting roller coaster with me. So
Mhm.
just it'll be a good time for y'all. Just
Yeah.
it'll be fun just to give you a
We're
little.
expecting a lot of, we're expecting questions, and that's okay.
Mhm.
The agency has said, is there. So we can read as much as we can, read up on it, but really it's just going to be kind of just how things happen. Like we can't,
Mhm.
Right.
can't
As long as you're
predict what
just
he's
honest,
what
I
he's
don't
going
know.
to want to ask, what he's going to want to know.
Yeah.
Like it's just,
Right.
And really, his story is his story,
yeah.
and that's not
Mhm.
something that we get to really have a lot of say so about.
No.
It's going to be
He's,
um, how he wants to identify and uh,
Mhm.
how he works that out for himself over time.
Right.
It's just I just wonder how we're going to guide him through that.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm. Well, I think y'all are headed in the right direction.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, even sitting here talking about how y'all are going, I wonder how I'm gonna be able to do that. I mean, I I love that because it shows that you're open
Yes.
yeah.
to however it goes.
Well, it just shows that you're open wanting to do right by him, no matter what the outcome is. Like, and
Mhm.
he'll feel that, he'll know that, he'll love that, and that makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
It's hard to tell sometimes whether this kid wants it. We're sorry, we're having a parenting moment. It's
You're fine.
hard
Oh
to
no,
tell
I'm about to say
sometimes
we're
whether he
here
wants
for
the
it.
bottle or whether he doesn't.
He's looking at you like, you talking about me, Dad, while I'm eating a bottle. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, what's up?
I'm right here,
What's going
Dad. I'm
on?
right here.
So cute.
He's looking back and forth, like, what are y'all talking about? What's happening over here?
Yeah.
He
He is
loves being
so
part of
precious.
he definitely loves being part of conversations.
Yeah.
So as far as like introducing him with, I mean, we talked about y'all walking in
Yeah.
and being like, are we sure? Like, this is our kid, like double checking, like all that. Did your family have the same surprise that y'all did? Like, were they expecting the same things that y'all were when you brought Liam home? Were they there with y'all? I'm just curious how, like, if they had the same response of, are you sure?
Okay.
Like, did
Well,
you get the right kid?
I'm sorry. My mind was wandering as you said that. I was thinking about a lot of different things. It tends to do that. Apologies. Can you ask that again?
Was that a parenting moment? It's totally fine.
Yes, it
It's
was.
totally fine.
Yes.
No, you're fine. It's going based off, because I'm sure it was you and Mary Frances that walked into the room and you're
Yeah.
both going, are we sure? Like, wait a minute, hold on. Is this our kid? Like, we're sure this is our kid. When you brought Liam to meet your family, or your family came over to meet Liam, did they also act like, were they surprised as well when they saw Liam? Had they prepared themselves the same way that you had?
I don't know. I think we probably what ended up happening with that was social media, and we as soon as we were able to, one thing I forget. So it actually didn't proceed how I was just thinking it did, because I forget that before his adoption is before the birth parents parental rights have been terminated in the legal
Mhm.
process, we were not allowed to post any pictures of him
Right.
on social media. So anybody who would only receive his pictures or see his pictures via social media that we had
Mhm.
talked to, and yeah, we had started just knowing how racism is within whatever
Mhm.
community you are in. We had started to talk about his multiracial identity with
Mhm.
people in general, just to, yeah. So I'm somebody who doesn't really like surprises, and so I project that onto other people as well. And so I think we had started to kind of prepare at least some of our family and friends where
Mhm.
race might be a little bit more of a question.
Mhm.
We not in it's not that we only told the people that we thought race might be a question for them, but it's just we're telling people in general. And so
Right.
people who only saw his picture would only see his pictures via social media. Maybe they were surprised when they first saw him, but our family, and we don't really know, but our family and friends got pictures via text message,
Okay.
loads of them. We were taking pictures every 10 seconds.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
7 weeks early. So I mean, it was very kind of, it was hard to tell, at that point, just because he was so little and he
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
constantly swaddled. So it was just, but
Yeah.
yeah, as he, got older and when he got home and then like introducing the family, it's like I just kind of kept
Mhm.
waiting almost for that, so that was like, so I was waiting for that other shoe to drop. He's like, excuse me, like, and we have some friends that did a closed adoption, I think. Their child is multiracial, and
Mhm.
they didn't really, I don't think they've had any problems, any issues, but they kind of in the same boat as we were. It's just like, how did you prepare your families for this?
Mhm.
Um
That's a good
their
question.
story is kind of
That's a
heartbreaking.
good
They
question.
went through so many, they had several birth moms, and then they all kind of just, it fizzled out. They finally got placed, child placed with them, and he was their son was in the NICU for a long time. But like, just talking to them was like, how have you handle the situation, and knowing that not every situation is gonna be the same, but just we
Mhm.
just wanted to get their perspective on how they are, their kid does. I mean, he's a beautiful kid, their kid, but he looks nothing like his parents, and he doesn't look like his parents. And I'm like, I just, it's good to have them, to be connected to
Right.
them. Like, I feel I can ask questions if I need to. It's like, so we got that, like I said, we get a comment, it's just like, it's just nice to know that there's somebody else out there that
Right.
who might experience the same thing. I don't know, but
That
it's
we
just,
could talk to and
Yeah.
kind of ask about
Yeah.
some
Right.
things off of and things like that.
and and then yeah. One thing we talked about in our seminar, and it's they do not place children who are of Native American heritage. One, because it's a tribal issue, like it's a legal thing with the tribes.
Indian
Mhm.
child,
Yeah,
correct?
the Indian Child Welfare Act. So any
know that.
any indication that a child is of Native American heritage, they do not get placed. Now some
Really?
friends, yeah, it's one of the other couples we met. Turns out the birth mother of their son had some Native American heritage, and like they were like, but you're not supposed to be placing children with Native American heritage, so they kind of had to go through something with that. But yeah, one of the many things that we had to learn about.
Wow.
And
Is it like full? I'm a little curious about the Native American, and like, I appreciate that where they're coming from with it, but and this is good. This is going to sound terrible the way that I'm about to say it, and I don't mean it to sound the way that it sounds. I just want to go ahead and preface that because
Yeah.
it's going to sound bad. But is there like a certain percentage cutoff? Does that make sense? What I'm asking?
yeah,
Like
Like,
I
what they're
feel like
made up of? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, like
With
if
the
they're
kid?
like a quarter, if they're like a quarter Native American and 3/4 Caucasian, are they still?
I don't know what it is. Do you? Yeah.
I feel like I mean, I could be wrong. I feel like their qualification, the rule of thumb is like, I think if birth mom has, birth mom herself or even birth father has
Mhm.
any Native American heritage whatsoever, if that is revealed,
Mhm.
that's they have to stop and go and talk to whatever tribe, because that
Yeah.
child could be potentially placed within the tribe.
And I think what it is any child whose parents, anybody within at least a few generations in
Mhm.
their biological line is on the tribal rolls. That's
Okay.
where the question comes in, because
Mhm.
I mean, if they're not in the tribal rolls, the tribe is not going. The nation is not going to know
Gotcha.
that
No,
the
that makes
child
Right.
sense.
was
Yeah.
I
born in the
gotcha.
first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably where it is, and a lot of it has to do with preserving cultural heritage
Yeah.
and things like that,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and the fact
Makes
that
sense.
the native nations, they experienced a lot of sort of cultural annihilation during
Mhm.
the 18 and 1900s, and they're trying to
Yeah.
Right.
do what they feel that they are able to preserve their heritage.
Right.
Mhm.
That makes
Agreed.
sense.
That's very. I like that they do that to preserve that culture.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of curious about that because that's the first time I've heard that. I don't
Yeah.
know if
Same.
Melanie,
No,
that you
same.
do that. Like, yeah. And we also, I'm glad y'all are sharing this because we've had a couple of different individuals from different states and locations and different ways of adopting that.
Right.
It's always, I mean, this is the first mention about if they're Native American, they can't place them. I'm almost curious if it's like that. I would imagine it would be like that everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah. No,
Yeah.
like you're saying, keeping that all
yeah.
intact, because after I did my 23andMe, there's a lot of Native American in me, but like when he was saying like on the rolls, I think that's probably
Mhm.
long gone with my biological history, because I was like, oh my gosh, but then you know what I mean? Like I think it's
That
where
makes me
he's
want to do
talking about
23andMe even more now.
they should
like that?
They show up. Yeah, no, like it's a huge percent. It's like 46%. I've got Native American in me, which I was totally shook. Like I'm like, whew, because it's
Right.
like Colombian.
I
But
was about to
and
say,
so when he was saying that, I was like,
totally
dang.
respectfully, you're from Colombia.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how everything, and I've got a lot of European in me too. More European than Native American, which
Well,
is crazy.
I
Like,
understand the European part, but
yeah.
the
See,
Native
and I
American
didn't
part, Colombia,
like,
it's confusing.
yeah, I know. There's just people from all over going down to South America.
I think, like, I think most of it, I mean, said, it could be, I'm sure there are, I think the Indian Child Welfare Act, I'm sure applies in just about every state, I would think, but
Right.
especially
Or
here in Oklahoma.
nationalized.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
but especially
Right.
in Oklahoma where there are several Native American tribes
Yeah.
Right.
represented.
Here in Oklahoma, Texas, any place that was sort of at the end of that Trail of Tears,
Yeah.
Mhm.
as well as out east as well, are going to, and really all over the country, it's going to apply. But yeah, here in Oklahoma, especially, it's going to be a question because many of the nations ended up settling here.
Crazy.
Right.
That's
So
good to know, though.
that's more likely to be a question here in Oklahoma than
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Probably
places.
other places.
Like that's just one of the many, 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 many things that we talked about, just throughout the application process and the seminar. Just they really do a good job of educating the adoptive families on just everything, any potential issues that could come up. And I just, they've been extremely helpful throughout this whole process. And even after placement, there's different events that you can go to with adoptive families, even birth
That's
families,
awesome.
can be part of the events. They have like an open adoption picnic once a year. Plus
That's so
just other,
cool.
so many things,
Cool.
and one of the steps we had to go through before finalization was post-placement visits with the agency. The first one we had, I think typically the first one is done at the agency, but because we live a little further away, about an hour and a half away from Oklahoma City, they did come to us the first time, but the two, the second and third visits, we went up to the agency's office. So they have to basically just do it's like a check, they just have to make sure everything's going okay, that the parents are adjusting, the child is adjusting and everything. And then once finalization is done, that's it, but they don't stop, supporting you at that point. It's just,
That's cool.
okay, we've checked off the list and now you're, here you go. But, they're there for everything,
Yeah.
you can have. So, except
That's
I
pretty
think we're
cool.
planning on going to that picnic in a couple of months. So
That'll be fun.
That's going to be so much fun, though, too. It's like you get to connect with people who are going through what you're going through.
yes.
Yeah.
But
It's
we
kinda
got to
like-
meet some other adoptive families back in October, November. They have a what do they call it? Like I don't remember what it's a yearly event that they have. Like there's a hayride and a pumpkin patch, something kind of. I can't remember what
fun.
they have once a year. So we did get to finally meet some of the other adoptive families there, which was
picnic coming up in what, April?
April or May.
Yeah.
But just getting to make those connections has been really good. Not just the couples we met at our seminar, but like other
Right.
couples. And the agency is just amazing. Like hey, I really, 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 really just appreciate them so much. We got to work with two adoption specialists, as they called them. One actually ended up going on maternity leave. So we got to work with another one, but they just, every step of the way, they were there. The group me was set up by our second adoption specialist. Like she kind of, set it all up, and she, anytime we had questions about something, if we had, needed to say, is it okay if we ask birth mom this, we would text her. We're like, is this okay? Like when I wanted to send a Christmas card, I'm like, is it okay if I ask her if we send her a Christmas card? Just like you still like you just because you're still like you don't know.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's been great. And
That's good.
I know. I'm just excited to hopefully he'll get to know some of the other kiddos.
Yeah. No, I love that they have huge support for you guys, because I like, and even for the birth families too, because I mean,
Mhm.
it's not to me, I feel like it's like not so much transactional for them. It's like we're here and we're here in it to stay with you guys because we actually care and we're invested in you, which how it should be. It totally should be because it's a huge thing. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I hear stories of adoption in decades past and how a lot of adoptions have had that transactional kind of nature to them.
Yes.
Birth families being sort of cut out of the process as soon as the child's born, and it's not just in closed adoption necessarily, but just in the past in general.
Right.
There's been a lot of isolation and siloing off, and people thought that was what was good for the kids. I mean, it's not because they were trying to be evil. It's
No,
because
correct.
No, absolutely.
That it would be confusing to them, for instance, for them to know their birth parents or have any, or even know that they were adopted.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, there's probably confusion. There's probably going to be confusion for him, even as open as we are in the process and as much contact as we have with this birth mom. There will be some confusion, but over time, I think open adoption has really it's starting to become the norm now, where it wasn't.
And I love it. I think it's great.
I love that. I love it too. I think it's almost as long as there's a healthy understanding and a healthy exchange, and there are those, the boundaries. I mean, not and like you said, y'all haven't set rigid boundaries, but there are I feel like there's almost understood boundaries. Like, you're the parents and, bios or friends or maybe aunts or uncles or however that's going to look in the future. And I think as long as that's there, I think it's a really healthy thing to have the open adoption so that those conversations, y'all can navigate that together to figure out how to respectfully relay the information on all sides. Because, I mean, Melena's brought it up. If you're not involved directly in the adoption triad, you don't really understand what is going on as far as the feelings and understandings and things like that go. So, I mean, just, God, y'all are just off to such a fantastic start.
Well, and I love that you said it's the new normal with open adoption, because it is. That's what I love with the way it's shifting, is it's like, okay, now when you adopt, like pretty much expect that to be a part of it, because they've learned it's just so good. You know what I mean? And I love it.
They learned it's healthy. It's a healthy thing. It's not being adopted isn't like a secret anymore. Like it's not, and it never was for either of us, but for some people, it was, like you said, it wasn't malicious intent. It was, they just thought that was what was best.
Correct. Cutting off,
and they
not
did the best
exactly
they could with what they were given. I mean, I love the new normal thing too.
And there's a range of open adoption as well. I mean, you've got on one closed adoption, kids don't know anything about it, and you got the other end. It's kind of where we are. It's a fully open adoption, at least for now. And we don't know how that's going to change. Like we said, we've let his birth mom take a lot of the lead on how often we're having visits, how much contact we're having. We will occasionally initiate contact when we've got like a really cute picture of him we want to send to her.
Of course.
But we've let her take a lot of that lead, and
that's awesome.
Right now she's very open. It may be that in 5 years or something she's not wanting to be as open. We don't know. We're letting her take a lot of that lead. But there's a lot of points in between there. I recently made social media contact with a birth mom, and she is in a semi-open adoption, is what she called it, where they had just email or text message correspondence and no visits. Until recently, where the adoptive parents said, "Hey, let's get together. Let's cut out the middleman." I think the agency was playing a mediator kind of role, very strong mediator kind of role, and then the birth parent said, or the adoptive parent said, "Hey, let's just cut out the middleman and have contact."
Right.
And so it can be fluid. It can be very fluid.
Right.
But I think what's important most with open adoption is just knowing what your boundaries are, being flexible to the situation as much as you possibly can, but mainly being open about what you expect and what you want. And understanding that other people have voice and agency in that too. That it's not just
Right.
yeah. I mean, it would be a lot easier maybe in some ways if we were in a closed adoption. Definitely would be easier in some ways, but then 15 years from now, when he's wanting to know a lot more about his birth family, then it's not easy.
Yeah.
So
I love that you pointed that out, because I don't know that many people would say that, like, really, with how open adoption is. But like, I do. I like your honesty with that, because I can get with closed, you don't really have to address anything, or there's nothing else to see right now. And so it just kind of will go with the flow. But like you said, years down the road, it could explode.
I was going to say it's easy. It's quote easier until it isn't.
Exactly.
And then you don't have any of the answers to answer the questions, which, I mean, you may have, Liam may not, if it was close, Liam may not be curious and not care, or he may be overly curious and care. You just never know. Like you said, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you hear Belle in the background, I'm getting hit in the face with a bunny.
I was going to say, all of a sudden, I feel like
he's very strong.
He's so cute.
He's active. I love
it. He's so cute.
Very active.
Yes, very active.
He's fussier tonight than normal. I think just being kind of shifted around a lot tonight's got him a little overstimulated, but he's a little fussier tonight than normal, but otherwise he's just a very happy kid.
Oh, that's awesome.
Unless he's hungry or tired.
I was about to say,
or we've left the room. He doesn't fuss. He's just happy.
That's his fussy. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just, I feel like he's more just like touching you guys, like, okay, are we done? Can we go do our own thing? Let's be done.
Or like, hey, I know you're talking about me. You're talking about me. I know you're talking about me
right now. Like, Dad, look at me.
Like right now, Dad.
Well, that's exactly what it is, because he's used to being in my face and
so
Dad,
cute.
smiling and laughing all the time, and I'm sitting there.
I love it. Oh, I love it so much. It's so cute.
Oh,
I wanted to mention before I forgot, I was looking for something that really helped me, kind of, especially after he got home, and I didn't read it till after we got home with him, but it's called Fortunate Son by Brooks Eason, and he is a Mississippi author. So he's based in Jackson, and he wrote the story of his own adoption. His mother had
What's his name again?
Brooks Eason, Eason.
Why does that name sound
It's called Fortunate. I don't know. My dad knows him. We connected with him Christmas of 2021. But like his own mother placed him for adoption. Just her life was just kind of going in a different direction, and but he only found he knew that he was adopted. Like he's known that his whole life, but he found out more about his birth family because he got a call from a lawyer saying that he could potentially inherit like millions because his birth mother's family was in oil. So I have to. You can buy it on Amazon, but my dad introduced us to Christmas of 2021, and it really resonated with me. I can't remember exactly why, but just reading it and some of the points he made just really resonated with me as an adoptive parent. And I'm like, it helped. So yeah. He's from Jackson. So he
and your dad knows him? Like personally?
My dad
wow.
For the Jackson Yacht Club.
That's pretty cool.
So he knows a lot of people because of that. But there was a Christmas party, and my dad happened to introduce us because he knew that we were, at the time, we had not, I think we were still in the adoption process, and he knew that we were adopting, and so he introduced us, and that's that. But yeah, he came over, Mr. Eason, came over the next day because I think we ended up ordering his book online. Like he has a website and everything. We ordered his book online. He came over to my dad's house the next day and was like, "Here's your book."
Wow.
I did everything. So yeah, like it's just because you get, what did he say? Like just I guess he sees the sales more
Oh,
quickly, and more loyalty or royalty, excuse me, that way.
loyalty. Hey,
I
it's
was
the
like,
same thing.
so buying directly from his website as opposed to like buying on Amazon, I guess. So I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's really
That's
but yeah,
cool.
awesome.
kind of a neat thing is like just being introduced to this gentleman who's like, and his birth family was based in Tulsa, so
Wow.
that kind of neat there. But yeah, I felt that really resonated with me, reading that after we got Liam, and
Good to know.
yeah, yeah.
Can
Plus
I
just
just say, every
together.
time you say Tulsa, it reminds me of Friends when Chandler has to go to
Oh
work.
yeah, that is.
Every
I
time
was like, I
Yes.
don't
I'm
know
like,
how much
Chandler.
like they don't really show Tulsa, but I'm like, hey, I've been there. Not very often because it's like 3 hours from where we are. So we've only been to Tulsa like a handful of times. We passed through there on our way to see Sean's stepmom in St. Louis, but generally haven't really been there. Yes.
Too
Yeah.
funny. Sorry, side note. I just thought of that every
That's
time you
okay.
said Tulsa.
There's a what's his name? Toby Keith has a bar and grill in Tulsa, so
Oh, I didn't know
That's
that.
new information. I didn't know that.
That's cool.
yeah.
Okay, see you too. He's
Yeah,
from
it's a
Norman.
chain, but like I think there's one in Tulsa, so that's all I know.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh, this is way cooler than I thought this was going to be. Like way cooler. Like I knew it'd be interesting because like when I saw the pictures first come on Facebook, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then I read the caption, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. I know some time has passed, and I know like I'm kind of like I loop on the lot. Like I just
many,
kind of
many, many years. We're not gonna say how many, but
just smidge of time. But then it just
hold it.
I was so just I was just intrigued by it, and I was just intrigued by all of it. And I knew it would be I knew it'd be a great thing to follow, but just hearing the openness and how just like consistently happy and just watching the interaction. Also, side note, if you're listening, you're not watching, you need to go watch the YouTube video because Liam is A, precious,
So
and
cute.
B, constantly, it's so cute how he keeps looking at Sean. He's like, Dad,
Yeah.
Dad. Like now, like it's Dad.
Like, let's go. Let's go. I'm done. Come play with me.
Come play with me now.
Be done. So
He
cute.
does that on like when we FaceTime with friends or family, mostly. He'll look to us like he's talking to, my dad, for example. But he'll look up and it's just like, okay, is this okay? Are you still there? Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah. He loves FaceTiming.
Milena, did you have any additional questions? You usually ask me because I'm usually just going,
Whatever. No, I appreciate you guys coming and doing
Oh,
this for
thank
us.
you.
And it's my favorite thing
You're
because
welcome.
I always learn something new. I.e. the Native
right.
American stuff, which was so like I had no clue. But like
Yeah.
that's what I love about doing this, and we get so many different people on. So
Mhm.
thank you for taking time out of your night to come be with us and to
Sure.
share a piece of your heart and your family.
Yeah.
And just I so
Mhm.
appreciate it. It's gonna help more people than you guys know.
This is going to
Like,
help a lot more
yeah.
people than you realize.
Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
Thank you.
Yeah. We enjoy helping others know.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, did y'all have any? Milena always puts it as you always say it. I always mess this part up. That's the reason I shouldn't be allowed to do closings or openings ever. But it's Milena always likes to ask everybody if they have any advice that they would like to give to either prospective adopting parents, adoptees. Like just from your perspective, what advice would you like to give to somebody that's going through the process?
From the adoptive parents' perspective, probably just one, be patient. We never really talked about that, what our timeline was, but we had a very quick adoption process. It was outside of us taking forever to get the paperwork done.
Yeah, that was
It was very quick. But because from the time we were fully approved to adopt, home visit approved, everything like that, to the time that we were matched and then placed was 6 months.
Wow.
Where
That's awesome.
yeah, there are a lot of families that wait a while, and part of it is too that adoption, adoptive parents that don't already have kids typically are matched more quickly than adopted families that do have kids. Just because I think just the general impression that birth moms get is that it might be that they want their children in a home where they're the only kids, so they get all the attention, but also that, and then sometimes birth parents have the perception that if there are children who are biological parents of the adoptive family in the home, that their child will not receive as much attention, might be part of that as well. But then a lot of birth parents, I think, just want to they see a childless couple, and that's who they think that will that they want their child placed with, because they might perceive that is who needs it the most, maybe might be part of it. But so there's a lot of factors involved with that, but then it's just a matter of being patient, in the sense that just because your profile, if you're working with an agency or an attorney in adoption, just because birth parents are looking at your profile, or basically evaluating whether they want to place their child with you, and then they decide to go another direction, is no reflection on you as an adoptive family. I think that is where that's where a lot of adoptive families, I think, have a lot of problems in the adoption process, is that they're not being matched. They know they're being shown, but they're just not being matched. And they start to wonder, well, what's wrong with us? It's not that there's anything wrong there with the adoptive family. It's just that birth parents have a perception of goodness of fit, and goodness of fit isn't necessarily a reflection of one thing or the other being different or wrong. But then also, God is involved in this too.
Amen to that.
God knows what is the knows things down the line that we don't always know.
Right.
And that it might be that you're not being matched just because there is a child in the future that God has intended for you. I firmly believe that. We were one of the, I guess, ones that just worked out a lot quicker for. Than many others, but and that's not because we're just a great adoptive family either. It's just we had a good match very early on. Worked out very well. But then the other, outside of being patient, the other thing I think is just expect the unexpected.
Yes.
Big time. Because one, we don't know all ends. We don't know how things are going to work out, as we said before. But the other part of it is there are a lot of variables in adoption that are that can make things change on a dime. It might be in the matching process. It might be during placement or around the birth of a child. I'll just give you the quick rundown of our timeline. We were matched actually on Mary Frances's birthday. It was when we got the call from our adoption agency that we had a birth mom who was wanting to meet us and be matched. And we found out even during that call that she was sure that she wanted to match with us. So it wasn't a thing where we had to visit with her and convince her that we were going to be good parents. So it was very good. And then we met with her in April, two or 3 weeks later. And then we were, the funniest part of the story for me was we were getting ready for a meeting with her in mid-June. I had taken the day off work because we were going to be going to have another lunch with her just to talk more about adoption and what we expected the process to look like and things like that. And then I was out for a long walk. I was taking about a 3-4 mile walk that day, and got a call from the agency. And as soon as I saw the agency, they texted me first and said, "Hey, call us back. It's urgent." As soon as I got the call, I said, "Oh my goodness, she's changed her mind," because we were supposed to meet with her that day. And why else would the agency be calling except that she had changed her mind? She wasn't due until August 1st. And so I got on the phone with our adoption agency social worker, and she said, "Shaun, are you sitting down?" I was like, "Yes." And I'm just shaking because I was just thinking, "Oh, she's changed her mind. This is going to be so heartbreaking." And she said, "Liam's birth mom has gone into labor."
Crazy.
What?
Crazy.
So on the day we were supposed to go visit with
goodness.
her, she went into labor. And
That's so crazy.
And so things just turn on a dime, and you can think what to expect, and it just changes. So and then we rushed out to the hospital. We thought we were going to go to one town, and we found out that they were moving her up to another town because it was a premature birth. And so we rushed out to the hospital, drove a couple of hours to get there, waited for several hours, and then found out that they were going to delay delivery because they wanted him to stay in the womb a little longer to grow a little more. And so we went home, and we weren't really dejected or anything like that. We were sorry. We're trusting the doctors. We're trusting God. We're gonna just let it play out and not get too worried about things right now. We got a hotel room that night just in case it happened, just in case he came
That's
anyway. And but then he didn't come by that next morning, so we came on back home, and I went back to work. And then 2 days later, I was getting ready to go to work, and I just happened to be running really late getting to work that morning. And that was good because we got a call from our agency again saying he's coming. Get on back up to the hospital.
It's crazy.
And so we went up there, and we sat in the NICU waiting room for a while, and then found out, and we were just waiting on news, and then for 2 or 3 hours, and then found out that she'd given birth several hours ago. They just weren't able to get news to us yet because of all of the hospital processes, especially when there's an adoption. So it's a lot of hurry up and wait. It's a lot of expect the unexpected, and then it's just a lot of being patient and letting God work. So I think we have had a great process, a very easy process, really, with the adoption compared to the stories that we've heard. And we just feel very fortunate and blessed for that to be the case. And we know that's not a reflection on us. It's just God working.
Awesome. I love that.
I love that. I love that it keeps coming back to, it's God as a hand in it, God's working. And I think, I've had a lot of conversation with friends lately, like for all of us as humans, it's just hard for us to have the patience to wait for something to go as he's directing it to go. We're as humans, we're like, no, right now, like give me this right now. So I appreciate that you're reminding everybody, like, it is a hurry up and wait thing. It is a just trust it, like, trust the process, trust him, trust everything. And that's, I think it's really important to hear that, especially it's important to hear the experience that y'all have had from beginning to end, because like you said, I'm sure you heard plenty of stories that were not probably holistically positive, probably positive, but like there may have been like bumps in the road or like twists and turns and things like that. And to be able to hear a story that has like a very fluid thing happen with it, I think that's very refreshing and very nice.
Yeah. It is possible for that to happen. It's just not likely. As many variables as happen. That's part of the reason I feel so fortunate, because I've heard so many stories where it did not go smoothly, and it worked out great in the end. It just didn't go smoothly.
It just didn't go smooth.
Like, why did our story go so smoothly? What?
I think that's my favorite. You're like, it is possible. Not likely, though. Not likely. That was great. I really appreciated that. Well, I will definitely say again, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to come speak with us.
Yes.
Liam is precious, and just hearing I hear him, hearing just like the ins and the outs. It's very intriguing. And just like Melena said, like we learned so much about these things. And I just know I learned so much more on this one than I think I have in
Oh,
a few
wow.
others, because y'all
Yeah.
are actually the first couple we've had on that has gone through a recent adoption,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Which is very cool.
which is very cool. And like a recent infant adoption, I would think,
Yeah.
especially, and to
Yeah.
have it be open and to be able to walk us through the ins and outs of that. So that's very appreciated. So
Yeah.
Melena, I'm gonna let you completely close this out because I can't do it. I'm terrible at it.
Stop it. All right. No, thanks again, Shaun and Mary Frances, for coming on and joining us. We so appreciate it. Like I said before. And for our listeners, thanks guys for listening to us and being so supportive. And like, we're always going to ask, share this, anybody that you know that can benefit from this. I'll tag also the book that she mentioned too, because I think that would be awesome for anybody. I'll put it in the show notes so people can see
Very
that too.
important.
But thank you, and thanks for being here and just joining us, and we appreciate it. And yeah, you guys were the best, so thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.